All right, back with another progress video. Quite a bit's changed, hopefully for the better here. I got the all the old brackets and mounts all cut off. That was quite the job. I had this whole axle out on the table, got the tie rods, or the tie rod looked after, drilled out the holes, kind of reamed them out. It was actually pretty soft for how easy that went. I was surprised. I bent the tie rod, I think, to 4 or 5 degrees on both ends. Too much, and it'll hit the pitman arm when that comes down. You can see it there. Too little, and the track bar won't fit down in between in that bracket that I'm working on, that we'll get to in a minute. So here I am working with the tools that I have. A gouging torch would have been really nice here just to melt the welds out, but the air hammer, grinder, and then torch kind of is what I used. It worked. It wasn't as quick of a process, but definitely got it all cleaned up eventually. A lot of time grinding and just smoothing it all out. I think I eventually get the 7.5 inch out and really chew it down. But here I'm cutting out all the new mounting brackets using a Cobra torch. Cobra torch is owned by Detroit, and they manufacture a torch that's almost like a plasma cutter. Hardly uses any fuel. Couldn't have done this project without it. I'm cutting through quarter plate there like nothing. Cuts a super fine line. It doesn't get super hot, so you just put your lines on and away you go. It's got little wheels to kind of guide you. You could clamp down a piece, and I found it was just faster to use freehand most of the time. I got a pretty satisfactory job doing it that way, but could have done it without that tool, and invaluable for sure, without having to own a CNC plasma machine or a plasma cutter. There's the sway bar right there. We're still going to use. It has the end holes in it, not the side. The side ones are ideal. And then you can just use one of these, this style still with the 90s. And then it still works out fine. So what we got to do is put a clevis on this. And then we can use just the regular eyelet style. So it'd be like a mini version of the track bars that I have now. Just tiny, tiny little thing. Now, obviously, I had to design something to move it forward. So rather than weld it onto it, I kind of went with this this bolt-on system here. So that way I should be able to just bolt it in a couple inches out. At this height, with the extra long link, it might be up somewhere in here. When you come down, it'll come way up. That's kind of what you want. There's this bracket. Let's see here. Two pieces sandwiched together, but this piece holds the one bolt for this. Kind of holds the head in there nice, so I think that's a good option. I'm still super undecided about the drag link and the track bar here. I don't like the way it's sitting right now. I think there's going to be a fair bit of bump steer. You can almost see the height difference. I think the difference between here and here is 3 inches. And the way I have it set up now, from there to there is 5 inches. So there's a 2-inch difference in angle, which makes a difference on that short of a length, obviously. So yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do. If I bring that up another 2 inches, that's gonna really arc it sideways. So I don't know yet. Got to think about it. Yeah, so it's a little bit nerve-wracking trying to get the height set because I don't have the cab on here. It'd be too much work to strip the fender off because I got the battery and everything still sitting in there. I'd rather just leave that all be. So I've been measuring off of this cab mount, and then I have the cab sitting on a hay wagon. I measured from the floor to the cab mount, and then I measured from the top of the fender to the bottom of the hay wagon, subtracted the difference, and that should be the height from here up to the fender. So then I just threw a straight edge across out to here and then measure up, and that's about where the fender's going to be. In theory, that should work, but if I make a mistake, that's it's not going to be too good. So hopefully that works out. I guess I didn't talk about bending this upper bar. That was quite a fiasco. Obviously it has to clear when it comes. I could bring it down here. The upper bar, this section of it basically almost touches the frame. So that's how low it has to come, and then, you know, to get around everything, you need the bend. It doesn't make any difference when it's up like this. The distances still all stay good, but yeah, very, very challenging stuff to bend. Again, I just used the Cobra torch and a very sketchy way with chains and a bottle jack, and managed to bend it all right. So both sides pretty much the same. Bended it to about 8 degrees. And that seemed to work fine. I didn't want to bend it so much that it looked like they were always touching each other. You know, I could have gone a little more, but I think it'll be fine the way it is. Drive shaft angle, I'm not entirely sure, because you're fighting, again, here's 2 things you got to fight and make compromises with. You have your, I'm going to say it wrong, I think this is your caster alignment. So when you look above at your 2 ball joints, we want positive caster on these, which means the top ball joint is back further than the bottom ball joint. So the whole knuckle is rocked like this. But obviously when you do that with such a lift, your pinion angle doesn't point perfectly upwards. So I hope I can still get the range and all that. I'm not sure at the moment. Either way, I have some adjustability. The way I have the ball joint set up, that one can go in and that one can go out all the way. So that should provide a lot of movement. Okay, I think that wraps it up. I'm gonna keep monkeying here and see if I can get this bracket all fabbed up. Hopefully pick a spot. All right.